This is lesson 9.1, Introduction to Statistics, chapter 9. A statistical question is where there is a variety of answers. Let's take a look at the examples given to figure out what it means. Let's take a look at this. The question here asks how many days are there in the month of January. Is this a statistical question? Let's look at the answer. How many days are there in the month of January? Good, 31 days. Now, it doesn't matter who you ask this question to, your parents, your friends, someone on the street, they are all going to say 31 days. So, is there a variety of answers here? No. So, it is not a statistical question. And the explanation is that there is only one answer. There is only one answer to the question. And which is 31 days. That's why it's not a statistical question. Now let's take a look at the second question. What's your favorite color? Now, depending on the person you ask, the answers will vary. So there is no one specific answer here. So is this a statistical question? Yes. And what's your explanation of it? Is that every person has their own favorite color. So what about the answers? Answers will vary or differ. Now, will there be some answers that are repeated? Yes, but there is a variety of answers that is possible. All right, let's go ahead. I want you to go ahead and finish 3 and 4 and write the explanation just like this. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. It says to answer a statistical question and make a dot plot. A dot plot is nothing but also a line plot. Now, you have done these in elementary school, maybe not made them, or maybe even made them, but this is how it looks, like a number line. And let's say you have a 2, 4, 6, 8, and these, on top of those, remember this? This is a line plot. Okay, we have to not only make this, in this case we have to identify what a cluster is. This means groups, where is the data in groups. A peak, where is it the most, not the maximum, but more number of data for what value. And then gap is a space. So let's go ahead and do number 1. Now if you notice in number 1, you have, it says number of emails, and there is a variety or a range of numbers here. I want to bring it to your attention that there is a 2 and there's a 45. Now this is a huge gap. Usually it's not so, but in this case it becomes huge. So you have to decide what you want to put on the number line. Again, you have to make a number line. Make sure that it is evenly spaced. You could go up by any you want, and the way the problem is, I've tried a few different and I've decided to do it going up by 2s. So let me make the number line. Alright, I've made the number line, and let's go ahead and plot. Now when you're plotting, I want you to go ahead and cross out as you're plotting. Don't completely cover up the number because you want to go back and check your work. So 12, then 2. Make sure that they are even. The first ones are pretty much at the same height from the number line. 45 way down here. I'm sorry, that should be a 46 on the number line there. So 45 is somewhere here. 15 right here in the middle. 17, 19, 16 again. Oh, 16, I'm sorry. 18, 16 again, 14, 13, and a 16 again. All right, now take a look at this and tell me where there's a cluster. Good, this is the cluster. So the cluster is between 12 to 18. Cluster of data 12 to 18. Where is the peak? Is at 16. And where are the gaps? There are 2 gaps if you notice. There's one gap between 2 and 12, gaps between 2 and 12, and there's another gap between 18 and 45. So there are 2 gaps. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. Okay, let's take a look. and this one says number of ounces, and it has given us a few data. Now if you notice, this is all even numbers. So I'm going to look at the data and then make my number line. Now in this I can say that I'm going to make my number line only even numbers, and I see that they are all multiples of 4. So I'm going to start at 12 and go up by 4s. 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and 32. I don't even have to go any further because that's the highest number. Alright, let's go ahead and plot. First one is 12, then 20, the 20, again 20, 32, right here, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 32, right there, and the last one is a 20. Okay, now is there a cluster? Not really. There is no cluster here. So the reason I'm showing you this is to show you that there really doesn't have to be a cluster every time. There is no cluster, but there is a peak, and that is at 12. And is there a space for this? Yeah, there is a space between 12 and 20, and the space between 20 and 32. So those are the spaces. Okay, go ahead and finish up with 6A and B. All right, let's take a look at the last piece of this lesson. In this case, it says using a dot plot, answer the questions. Okay, now this first dot plot shows the heights of 6th grade students in a gym class. All right, now how many students are in the class? How do you know that? You have to count up the number of each of these dots. Each dot represents a student. That's what it is. So the number of dots, the number of students. So add up dots, and that gives you how many data values are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So there are 24, don't forget the unit, in this case students. There are 24 students in the class. Alright, how can you collect these data? What do you do in order to measure the height of someone? Well, there are different things that you can use. You can say a measuring tape, you can say a ruler, so different answers there. Now this is very important. What are the units? That means how did you measure the height? In what unit? Is it inches, centimeters, feet, meters? This is where it becomes very critical. You have to think, what do these numbers mean? Okay, think about it. It cannot be 62 feet. No one is 62 feet tall, no person. It cannot be meters, it cannot be yards, it cannot be centimeters. The only reasonable answer here becomes inches. This is what you need to really think about. So in this case, the unit is inches. This carries a whole lot of importance on these guys, boys and girls, because this is what we are going to test you on. Can you figure out what a reasonable unit to the given data? All right, write a statistical question that you can answer. Now, this question could be worded in different ways. I'm going to give you one way to write it, but maybe, there are different ways to write it. So let's write the question. The question is, what are the heights? What are the heights? Or what is the height? You can write that also. The heights of in inches of 6th grade students in a gym class. So that is your question. Now your answer is that. Now there are different, again, based on the data, you can write different answers, but it should go with the data. In this case, I'm going to say that most students are 62 inches tall. And then you can say there are two students that were 66, somewhere in this more than 64, I think 65. So there are different ways in which you can write this. So that's what I'm going to write, that most students are 62 inches tall. Okay? All right. I want you to go ahead, take a look at the other two, finish them just like what I showed you. Look at the data, think and write, and I'll see you next class.